Up to 100% of Native Americans in some communities share the same blood type, type O. No other human population on Earth comes close to this purity. In Europe, you'll find type A, B, AB, and O mixed throughout populations. In Asia, similar diversity. In Africa, the birthplace of humanity, blood types vary extensively across different ethnic groups. But cross into the Americas and something extraordinary happens. From the Arctic Circle to Tierra del Fuego, across thousands of miles and hundreds of distinct cultures, one blood type dominates with almost supernatural consistency. Type O blood, the universal donor that can save any life in an emergency transfusion. Yet it carries hidden vulnerabilities that should have eliminated it from isolated populations long ago. European populations show 45% type O. Asian populations average 30%. African populations range from 45 to 50%. But step into Native American communities and you'll find 90%, 95%, sometimes 100% type O blood. Such genetic uniformity shouldn't exist in large populations. Evolution favors diversity. Natural selection promotes variety. Yet somehow, across two entire continents, one blood type achieved near total dominance. Is this just the accident of isolation, a random quirk of population genetics? Or did native peoples preserve humanity's original bloodline, a genetic time capsule from our most ancient ancestors, protected across millennia by forces we're only beginning to understand? Your blood type is determined by antigens, protein markers on red blood cells. Type A carries A antigens. Type B carries B antigens. Type AB carries both. But type O carries neither A nor B antigens. This makes type O the universal donor. In emergencies, type O blood can be transfused into anyone. But people with type O blood can only receive type O blood. From an evolutionary perspective, type O appears to be the oldest blood type. It's what our ancestors likely carried before genetic mutations created the A and B variants around 20 to 30,000 years ago. But here's where the Native American story becomes strange. While type O may be ancient, it's not typically dominant in modern populations. Global averages show type O at roughly 45% of all humans. Type A accounts for about 40%. Type B represents 10%. Type AB makes up the remaining 5%. Yet in the Americas, this balance doesn't exist. Many Native American communities show 90 to 100% type O. Some Alaskan Native groups reach 100% type O frequency. South American indigenous populations often exceed 95%. Dr. Arthur Morant's comprehensive study documented this anomaly. He found that the Americas represent the only large continental region with such extreme blood type homogeneity. But type O blood carries significant health vulnerabilities. People with type O have higher rates of stomach ulcers, blood clotting disorders, and certain infectious diseases. If type O carried such risks, natural selection should have favored populations with mixed blood types. Yet somehow, across the Americas, type O not only survived, but thrived to near exclusivity. What force could eliminate A and B blood types from entire continental populations? When geneticists map global blood type distribution, one pattern jumps out. The Americas are a genetic island. Europe shows complex patterns reflecting thousands of years of migration. Asia displays varied distributions influenced by multiple ancestral movements. Africa shows the most complex blood type patterns of all. But the Americas tell a different story. Dr. Cavalli Sforza's research documented this anomaly in detail. Native American populations show the most homogeneous blood type distribution of any major continental group. Inuit populations in Alaska, 90 to 100% type O. Navajo in the southwest, 95% type O. Cherokee in the southeast, 90% type O. Amazonian tribes, 95 to 100% type O. Patagonian groups, 90% type O. This consistency spans thousands of miles, hundreds of languages, and vastly different environments. From Arctic tundra to tropical rainforest, type O blood dominates with mechanical precision. No other continent shows such genetic uniformity. The statistical probability of this happening by chance is virtually zero. Random genetic drift doesn't create continental-scale homogeneity. Something actively shaped the blood type distribution of the Americas. Something powerful enough to override normal genetic variation and natural selection. What force eliminated A and B blood types from two entire continents? Scientists have proposed several theories, but none fully account for the scale of this genetic phenomenon. The altitude theory suggests type O blood provides advantages at high elevations, enhancing oxygen delivery. This could explain Andean populations with near 100% type O frequencies. But many native groups lived at sea level yet maintained the same type O dominance. The pathogen resistance theory proposes type O provided protection against specific diseases. Some studies suggest type O individuals show enhanced resistance to malaria and plague. However, type O blood also increases susceptibility to cholera, stomach ulcers, and severe bleeding. If pathogen resistance was the driver, we'd expect more balanced distributions. The cardiovascular theory notes that type O blood clots less readily, potentially reducing heart attack risks. But this increases bleeding risks during injury. Significant disadvantages for populations facing harsh environments. Most problematically, if type O provided such advantages, why didn't it achieve similar dominance in Asia, Europe, or Africa? Why did the supposed benefits only manifest in the Americas? Something more dramatic must have shaped the blood type landscape of the Americas. The standard explanation centers on the founder effect. Small founding populations carry limited genetic diversity that becomes locked in through isolation. According to mainstream theory, a small group of type O carriers crossed the Bering Land Bridge 50 to 20,000 years ago. These founders established all Native American populations, and their type O blood became fixed through isolation. This seems logical until you examine ancient DNA evidence. Research by Dr. Esk Willerslev analyzed ancient DNA from Siberian populations ancestral to Native Americans. Their findings were startling. These populations carried A, B, and O blood types in typical proportions. The people who migrated to the Americas weren't exclusively type O. They carried the same blood type diversity found in other ancient populations. But something happened after migration. Analysis of ancient DNA from early Native American sites shows rapid decline in A and B frequencies as populations moved south from Alaska. Early Alaskan sites show traces of A and B alleles, but by the time populations reached the American Southwest, type O had become overwhelmingly dominant. By South America, A and B had virtually disappeared. This suggests genetic purification happened after initial migration, not before. The founders carried diverse blood types, but something eliminated that diversity as populations spread across the Americas. What happened after these people crossed into the Americas? What force eliminated two major blood types from expanding populations? Random drift cannot account for such rapid genetic change across such vast areas. The evidence points toward a population catastrophe. After Native American ancestors entered the Americas, an event so severe, it eliminated most genetic diversity. Ancient DNA analysis reveals this catastrophe's signature. Early Alaskan sites show A and B alleles, but these disappear southward. Something systematically removed non-type O individuals from expanding populations. Dr. Ripon Malhi's research documents this pattern across archaeological sites. Genetic diversity drops precipitously as populations moved from Alaska toward lower states and South America. What could cause such selective genetic elimination? One possibility is disease, a pathogen so deadly to A and B blood types that it functioned as a genetic filter, allowing only type O individuals to survive. Different blood types have varying disease susceptibility, but no known pathogen shows the blood type selectivity that would eliminate A and B while leaving type O intact. Another possibility is environmental catastrophe, a climate or geological event creating survival conditions favoring type O blood. The Younger Dryas climate event around 12,900 years ago brought sudden global cooling that could have created extreme survival challenges. But no known environmental catastrophe shows the required blood type selectivity. The most disturbing possibility is deliberate selection. Surviving populations actively eliminated individuals with A and B blood types through cultural practices or social exclusion. While extreme, anthropological evidence shows many cultures developed elaborate beliefs about blood purity and maintaining specific bloodlines. Whatever happened left a genetic scar across 2 continents, a bloodline collapse written in the DNA of every Native American population. Native American perspectives offer insights mainstream science often overlooks. Many indigenous traditions don't view type O dominance as migration accident. Instead, they see it as evidence of their status as original peoples, the first humans created on this land, carrying the pure bloodline from the beginning. Lakota traditions speak of being formed from sacred American earth. Cherokee stories describe emerging from the mountains and valleys they inhabit. Hopi prophecies refer to their bloodline carrying sacred responsibilities connecting them to the land. From these perspectives, type O blood isn't genetic accident. It's sacred inheritance, deliberately preserved through countless generations. Many tribes developed elaborate marriage customs, clan systems, and bloodline tracking that functioned as sophisticated genetic management programs. These were systematic efforts to preserve genetic characteristics considered sacred. The Haudenosaunee maintained clan systems based on maternal bloodlines. Plains tribes developed kinship networks, regulating marriage according to bloodline purity. Southwestern Pueblos created ceremonial systems, elevating certain lineages to sacred status. These cultural practices could have actively maintained type O dominance long after initial population bottleneck. If native societies developed strong preferences for type O bloodlines, they could have systematically discouraged reproduction by A or B carriers. The extreme type O dominance required active maintenance across thousands of years. Random drift alone cannot sustain such homogeneity in large populations over extended periods. Whether through spiritual beliefs or cultural preferences, Native American societies appear to have consciously preserved their type O bloodline as sacred inheritance, connecting them to ancestral roots. The genetic uniformity that makes Native American blood types remarkable also created devastating vulnerabilities. When European diseases arrived, they encountered populations with extremely limited genetic diversity. The same bottleneck that created type O dominance eliminated genetic variation, providing disease resistance. Smallpox, measles, and typhus killed an estimated 90% of native populations within centuries of contact. This represents one of history's largest demographic catastrophes. Dr. Jared Diamond's research documents how genetic uniformity made native populations extraordinarily vulnerable to epidemic diseases. Lack of diversity meant pathogens could sweep through populations without encountering resistant individuals. The vulnerability extends beyond disease. Type O individuals have higher rates of stomach ulcers, bleeding disorders, and certain autoimmune conditions. They show different medication responses and nutritional needs. Modern native populations show elevated diabetes and heart disease rates that may relate to type O genetics interacting with modern diets. Genetic adaptations supporting ancient survival may create contemporary health challenges. The genetic purity Native Americans maintained represents both their greatest strength and most dangerous vulnerability. It preserves ancient capabilities while creating modern risks. This paradox raises questions about genetic diversity and survival. The uniformity that allowed thriving in ancient environments nearly led to extinction when confronted with new biological challenges. Today's native populations carry both benefits and costs of their remarkable genetic heritage. Native American type O blood represents a living time capsule containing information about humanity's ancient past that exists nowhere else. In modern native genetics, scientists read stories of human migration, adaptation, and survival strategies from our species' most challenging periods. Type O dominance reflects survival decisions made during the last ice age. The genetic uniformity documents population bottlenecks so severe they nearly eliminated human presence in the Americas. But within genetic restriction lies remarkable adaptation. Native populations develop genetic responses to American environments, taking thousands of years to perfect. Dr. Ana D. Rienzo's research shows Native Americans carry unique genetic variants related to cold tolerance, high-altitude survival, and metabolic efficiency appearing nowhere else in human populations. These adaptations suggest the bottleneck that created type O dominance also concentrated beneficial mutations, enhancing survival in ancient American environments. Modern analysis reveals Native American type O blood carries specific variants differing from type O in other populations. These may represent adaptations developing after initial migration. Preserving these variants across thousands of years required remarkable cultural continuity. Native populations maintained not just blood types, but entire genetic heritage through massive cultural and environmental changes. This represents one of humanity's most successful long-term genetic conservation programs. While other populations mixed and changed, Native Americans maintained ancestral heritage with unprecedented fidelity. Today's Native populations carry genetic information about human capabilities and survival strategies existing before recorded history. Their blood contains molecular memories of ancient responses to environmental challenges modern populations never faced. Despite decades of research, the mystery of Native American type O dominance remains unsolved. Every scientific explanation raises more questions than answers. The founder effect doesn't explain why founders had diverse blood types, but descendants achieved uniformity. Disease selection can't identify any pathogen with required selectivity. Environmental adaptation fails to account for continental scale. Recent ancient DNA analysis has deepened the mystery. Each archaeological discovery provides more evidence of rapid, systematic type O purification, but reveals nothing about mechanisms causing it. Dr. David Reich's laboratory has analyzed hundreds of ancient Native American DNA samples. His findings confirm rapid genetic diversity loss, but provide no clear explanation. The mystery extends beyond blood types. Native populations show similar rapid genetic homogenization across multiple chromosomal regions. Something systematically reduced diversity throughout their genome. This comprehensive reduction suggests an event far more dramatic than random founder effects or disease selection. It points toward population catastrophe, reshaping the entire genetic landscape of two continents. But no known historical event matches the required scale and selectivity. No documented disaster shows the blood type specificity needed. The genetic evidence is clear and consistent, but points toward causes challenging our understanding of population genetics and human migration. Some researchers explore more speculative explanations involving unknown environmental catastrophes, undocumented disease outbreaks, or extreme cultural practices functioning as genetic filters. Others suggest the Native American pattern represents something unprecedented in human evolutionary history, requiring entirely new theoretical frameworks. For Native communities, the type O mystery represents more than academic puzzle. It connects to fundamental questions about identity, ancestry, and spiritual inheritance. Many tribal traditions view genetic uniformity not as limitation, but as evidence of special relationship with American landscape. The blood flowing through their veins carries connections to land, ancestors, and spiritual responsibilities defining cultural identity. Cherokee geneticist Dr. Imoke Sathmary writes about intersections of Western science and indigenous knowledge systems. Her work suggests Native understanding of blood inheritance includes dimensions Western science doesn't measure. Spiritual, cultural, and ceremonial connections genetic tests cannot detect. Modern Native communities face complex decisions about genetic research and use of their genetic information. The unique characteristics make these populations valuable for medical research, but raise concerns about exploitation. Tribal sovereignty over genetic information has become crucial. As genetic technologies advance, Native communities assert control over research, with their materials and demand studies respect indigenous knowledge systems. The Type O mystery highlights tensions between scientific inquiry and indigenous rights. While researchers seek to understand genetic mechanisms, Native communities emphasize cultural and spiritual significance of their heritage. This genetic inheritance represents living connection to ancestral wisdom, survival strategies, and spiritual practices, sustaining Native populations through thousands of years of challenges. We stand before one of genetics' most compelling unsolved mysteries. Native Americans achieved near 100% genetic uniformity across 2 continents, while maintaining it for thousands of years. This consistency exists nowhere else in human populations. Yet science cannot explain how this happened. Every proposed mechanism faces insurmountable problems. Every theory leaves crucial questions unanswered. Perhaps the answer lies in intersection of multiple factors: environmental catastrophes, cultural practices, disease outbreaks, and genetic selection, working together in ways we don't understand. Or perhaps the Native American genetic pattern represents something genuinely unprecedented, a population event so unique it requires entirely new theoretical frameworks. What we know for certain is that Native American blood carries information about human genetic capabilities and ancient adaptations existing nowhere else on Earth. In their Type O genetics lies a genetic library of human evolutionary history science is only beginning to read. What do you think explains the Native American Type O mystery? Share your theories in the comments below. If you found this genetic mystery fascinating, subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're building a community of people fascinated by humanity's hidden genetic secrets, mysteries that mainstream science still can't explain. Do you have Native American ancestry? Have you ever wondered why certain populations seem to carry genetic signatures that defy conventional evolutionary models? Comment below with your own family's genetic mysteries. Some of you might be carrying bloodlines with stories more ancient and extraordinary than you ever imagined. Because the deeper we dig into human genetics, the more we discover that our species' true history is far stranger and more complex than any textbook has ever dared to reveal. Thanks for watching.